Greetings. I'm going to try and talk slowly and clearly as I'm feeling a little emotional right now. This is probably going to be a bit of a long thing. I'm sorry in advance. Today, on the 2nd of December 2022, I lost my case against City Hall. Now, if I seem a little off rhythm, it's because it just happened. You see, the basis of my complaint was about the GLA's Afrophobia. I was arguing that during the Mayor of London election campaign in 2021, they panicked and acted in a discriminatory manner. And the backdrop for all of this is that in 2015, some 7 years ago, I wrote an article about war crimes that occurred in Kenya during colonial times. I compiled a dossier, I sent it to the DPP and the Metropolitan Police, and I became frustrated when they refused to prosecute the perpetrators of those crimes. They were British soldiers who I'd given their names to, I'd identified them, I'd done all the work for them. The DPP, who was one Keir Starmer at the time, refused to take the case forward. Now, some of the comments I wrote in that article 7 years ago were reported in the media during this election campaign as anti-Semitic. I am not and have never been anti-Semitic. And I am sorry that anyone believed that to be the case, or that they were offended by how my words were portrayed at that time. But Sadiq and his team decided it was a risk they weren't prepared to take. They wanted to win this election at all costs, and so they decided to treat myself and our community in a less favourable way than they would people who are typically racialised as white. They wanted to win, as I just said, at all costs, and they did. They took us for granted and they knew they could get away with it, and predictably, they have. Ironically, they used a post I made on Facebook to you, our community, as evidence, claiming that I was okay with the way they treated me. I was not. The Mayor of London's barrister successfully argued just now that the tribunal court scheduled to hear my case did not have the jurisdiction to proceed. Now, I'm not naive enough to believe and not understand that my attempt at securing justice from the system was always a long shot, but I had to try. Those of you that know me will understand that I am not a turn the other cheek kind of brother. In fact, while I expect racists to act with principle, it hurts me profoundly and personally when I'm stabbed in the face by any so-called anti-racist ally. I had to fight back. I had to make sure that this could just not stand. So of course I'm disappointed, but I will now draw a line under the matter as far as legal remedies are concerned. I won't seek any other legal options. Now, I know some of my family and colleagues will be happy to hear me say that. They know how painful this has been for me. And for you in our community who are wondering, what's going on, I'm so sorry for keeping most of you in the dark. I haven't been shouting this from the rooftops, as, truth be told, their well-resourced legal team has been harassing me, has been playing tricks, denying my freedom of information requests over the last year, and I really didn't want to bring anyone else into the affray. The whole situation has been extremely painful and also revealing to see what some of us will do to remain and to actually remain in close proximity to toxic power. Now, I will say that thankfully, during this whole ordeal, there is a hope. There is this little fledgling sign of hope. Not everyone wanted to go along with the racist disrespect and bullying coming from Sadiq Khan and his office. They may even come after me for saying this video, so I probably need to be careful. But I want you to know it's for those reasons, and those reasons alone, that I chose not to name the few members of our community who kindly offered me support and spiritual solidarity. Please know that this meant a lot to me. And although I willfully chose to decline those kind offers of assistance, I only did so because I didn't want any of them to have to face any spiteful backlash from my actions. City Hall, the GLA, they're very powerful actors in London. They have influence on so many different levels. And I say that, and again, I want to be really open here, and I want to say that there are some really amazing people at work at City Hall who I have known for years, and some of them who I can and I hope to continue being able to call friends in private. I don't want any of them to be jeopardised, their positions, their work, their reputations, by just doing the right thing. Now, I do want to say that this whole episode in my life of supporting our community, again, trying to do the right thing at some of the highest levels in British politics, has been deeply stressful and a deeply traumatic experience. It has impacted upon my family and I in ways that are ongoing and affect me in a professional, obviously, but also a very profound personal level, a spiritual, I should say, and political level that I just don't really want to talk about. So I'm going to sum this up by saying I have learned something from this. My message going forward is, and I feel embarrassed to say this, and I don't really want to say this, but I really have to say it, that my message is: do not trust anyone, especially those who claim to be anti-racist and allies of our community, unless they have a long track record of consistent and ethical behaviour. Please watch out for the small things, because they're the things that are indicative of what will happen when the stakes are high. There are too many people who smile on our face and they say the right thing. They condemn the things that we condemn. They like the likes that we like. But all of them who know how to drape themselves in Black Lives Matter or activist clothing when the cameras are rolling, are all so quick, so willing to betray us in a blink of an eye. Watch for the small things. Watch for them, because when the stakes are high, that's when you see them for who they really are. And sadly, some of these actors even look like us. Now, I will probably forever be a SpongeBob type character. I'll always be optimistic, and I'll always want to say have an open heart and look for the very best in everyone. Don't judge them without having experienced them, without seeing how they roll. But I want to warn you, please, 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 please don't be fooled like I was. And I was fooled. I was naive. I was too optimistic. I made the same mistakes that so many victims of structural violence and institutional racism do, which cost us our lives, that costs us in so many ways that I can't even articulate and quantify here in this video. I want you to remember that white supremacists don't come solely in the guise of members of the royal family and their entourage who ask, no, where are you really from? They don't only come in the guise of the predictable racists like Nigel Farage or even the current leader of the Labour Party. No, 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 no. This is the mistake we always make. They also look like us. They look like the Sean Baileys of this world, the Priti Patels, the Kemi Badenochs, the Suella Bravermans, the Tony Sewells, the Trevor Phillips, the Calvin Robinsons, the Kwasi Kwartengs. The list just goes on and on and on. We have to ensure that those we are working with have a consistent ethical track record. Now, when I have the capacity, maybe I'll make a documentary detailing this entire process, everything that I went through. I'm a nerd, right? I have detailed records. I have the receipts, obviously. Maybe I'll do something like a grassroots version of the Ford Report with academic rigor, so others can learn from my experience and archive it in a form that the future generations of our community can access. But if I sound off rhythm, if I don't sound like the usual Toyn, if I sound peed, if I sound... I don't know how I sound right now. I'm struggling right now. If I sound off, it's because God, I almost swore. It's because I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted. I'm tired. I'm fed up. So I'm just going to keep working for our community as I've always done, as I've done throughout my adult life. But I'm going to work now on a much lower key level than ever before. I just can't do it anymore. I can't work to that level of intensity anymore. I can't be betrayed by people who are supposed to be allies and friends, and who I see them on social media talking the good talk, and I know too much about how they operate behind the scenes. I beg you, listen. I beg that you only work with those who support us, who believe in ethics, who have moral values, and who will not compromise on their principles around social justice being crucial, being essential, and not for sale. I'm not going to extend this any longer. I'm going to just let you know that I appreciate you all, and I thank you for those of you who have stayed at the end of this video. It's a long video. I didn't intend it to be so. I thank you and I appreciate you all. I'm going to close by thanking the ancestors for guiding and protecting me today. Only you know what you are doing, and I trust in you, and I have received the lesson, and I will do so with humility. I only ask, may you continue to guide and protect us all. I know there are some troubling times ahead of us, so I thank you for being with us and taking us along this journey. And I have no other words other than Eshe and Ashe.